What's up, guys? It's G here, and welcome back to the Grizzly Life podcast. If you haven't watched episode 1 yet, go check that out first, because today we are continuing the story of how Grizzly Fitness and Priority Fitness all came to be. Also, new episodes will be dropping every Tuesday and Thursday, so make sure to subscribe or follow and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. Now let's get into episode 2 of the Grizzly Life podcast.
Hello. This is Chase Mashkola here with you for the Grizzly Life podcast. Today we're going to take a little time. We're going to introduce ourselves. I'll start with myself. I am the fitness director here at Grizzly Fitness. So I personally manage our personal trainers at the gym, handle all of the back end stuff as well with our clients that we currently operate with. We also have Garrett here. Garrett operates within our marketing, runs our ads for us, has a lot of the creative side to do with the company itself. So a lot of the back end dirty work behind the scenes that allows everyone to see all the cool stuff we do on our socials, everything that we promote. Garrett and I have been with the company now for a little over 5 years. Garrett's worked a lot more full-time. That being said, I've worked on and off through school, but I've had the chance to come on full-time ever since graduating here from college. For today, we want to just acknowledge all the great feedback we got from last episode. Some people really loved the length of what we did. Some people are asking for it to even be longer, just given how they've seen podcasts in the past. So we'll play around with length a little bit here as we start her out. And in the long run, we'll see, and we'll fluctuate as we go. But as we start off the pod here, we want to, for our initial first episodes, really just get you guys caught up to date here in 2025. But obviously take the baby steps as we did in the first episode, getting up to kind of 2018 here. But otherwise, Colton, I'm going to pitch it over to you here, and you'll let us get rolling here for today's episode.
Thank you, Chase. Thank you for the introduction there. Today we've got a lot of ground to cover. I wanted to thank everyone for listening to episode 1. This is officially episode 2 of the Grizzly Life podcast. 2 of many, I like to say. We've got a couple things we want to go over today before we get into it. The goal of this Grizzly Life podcast is to first give our foundation, build our history, explain our history to you, our whole story dating back from 2016 to today. So that being said, episode 1 was a quick 10-minute episode, which I know some people were shocked at the ending, and some people were kind of cool with the 10-minute video. It was a quick listen. It kind of left a cliffhanger there, which is obviously kind of one of our goals here. We want to make sure that you're coming back to listen to the whole story. We don't want you just hopping in and out. So please listen to the podcast, share the podcast, tell everybody about it. We want to get our story out. We also want as many people in our local areas, in our towns where our gyms are located, to know our story, support us, and help us grow as well. We want to continue bringing small communities, awesome fitness centers. That's kind of what we're about. So that is our goal here at Grizzly Fitness and the Grizzly Life. The Grizzly Life will be more of a long-term play. It will not be just about our story. We will do a brief timeline on our story over the next couple episodes. Once we get through that, we will come back and do some interviews with some of our, first employees, family members, friends, people who are helping start the company back up in 2016, 2017, to present day. Eventually, we probably will get into some maybe member interviews, maybe some gym members who have been with us since we opened location 1 and so on. So just so everybody's aware, that is kind of where this podcast is heading. We also want to do kind of a mentality, the way of life, the way of the Grizzly, kind of what we're about, the mindset, self-education, being the best version of you, being 1% better every day, those kinds of things. So that is our goal with this podcast. So last episode, we talked very briefly about where we started back in 2016 into 2017, went to school in Colorado for baseball and kind of a degree, dropped out, came back home. I think something I left out last episode, I actually did go to NWTC, which is a tech school in Green Bay, Wisconsin, for 2 semesters. I did not get many credits there. I dropped most of my classes there as well. Met a couple people. Not close, so I don't associate with anybody from there anymore. But it was another experience, but nothing really came of it, right? while I was there, this was late 2016, early 2017, is when I started our PT studio in Princeton, which we touched base on. Our PT studio in Princeton, then we started buying and selling gym equipment there. Something I also left out last episode is I only started with $3,000 to do all of this. That was money saved up from high school, kind of working, doing some random odd and end jobs, and also the money you save up from kind of that going away party to college. All of the money that those people come to your college grad party that doesn't really care, but they feel like they have to give you some kind of money and a thank you card or a good luck card and that kind of stuff. So that's where I got most of my money for. So I appreciate everybody who did come to that party my senior year going to college, my freshman year. I really appreciated that. Without you guys, it would have been a little bit harder to start this whole thing up. So thank you. So we are in 2017, early 2017, started buying a couple pieces of equipment and have our little PT studio now. Mid to late 2017, at the time, it was just I applied for a job at Grizzly Fitness, which is another town about 15 minutes up the road. Applied at a job there, I believe it was September of 2017. I was just looking to be a personal trainer, 20 hours a week, get some new clients, and make a little bit of side cash to help grow my little PT studio because I didn't have a ton of money to work with. So interviewed there, got a great job. I was working like 20, 25 hours a week. And the deal there was I got paid hourly plus whatever personal training I did was all mine. So as long as I was managing and staffing the gym, I could do whatever personal training I wanted. I could charge what I wanted, and that money was mine. So it wasn't a bad gig. I probably had a handful of clients or so, just did some flyers around the gym, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was a great startup, great position to be in. Very flexible with our Princeton studio and that kind of stuff. So I don't need to go in too depth there about Grizzly Fitness, but I worked there for, 6 months, 8 months, maybe a year. I'm going to double check and get back to you guys on that. But when I was working there, I started, I was still searching equipment on Craigslist at the time. Facebook Marketplace was not much of a thing in 2017. So I was really going down the buying and selling equipment path. I was very big into the niche equipment at the time, which was like still the hammer strength stuff, the cool plate loaded stuff. So I was kind of specializing in that, buying a piece for, I could get hammer strength pieces back then for $200 a piece. I would sell them at $600 a piece, think it was great. Nowadays here in 2025, the average hammer strength piece goes for $1,200 to $1,500, if not more, and you have to pay to ship it to you. So the times have changed since COVID for sure. So I'm working at Grizzly Fitness. I meet this guy on Craigslist. So this is kind of where the next part of the story unravels. I am talking to this guy on Craigslist, I believe late 2017. We're talking there about some random gym equipment. Actually, I think it was like June of 2017. I was looking to buy some gym equipment from him, and I would never actually buy from him. I'd hit him up. I'd say, hey, man, I want to buy this piece for this much. Or how much money can you give off, or whatever. And I would, I was only 18 or 19 at the time, so I would actually use my age to my advantage a lot of the time. Even though I'm only 26 now, I felt like when I was 18, 19, 20, I could use that to my advantage and tell them, oh, I'm just a kid trying to start something cool. I'm trying to open my own gym. I use that as a tool a lot, and I would get a large discount on a lot of the equipment I would buy. So I'm talking to this dude on Craigslist. We're emailing back and forth. I'm trying to get a good price on equipment. I'm never buying anything from him, never bought stuff, whatever. Then he hits me up. He's shooting me a text. He says, hey, I'm getting all this equipment and I just have no space for it. Ha ha, right? That was the kind of text I received. And I was like, well, actually, I've got this space here. I've got about 2,500 square feet of space at my Princeton gym. Mind you, I've got my Princeton studio is 1,500 square feet. I had access to an additional spot, so that's why I was making this comment. So I told the guy, hey, I've actually got 2,500 square feet of space if you want me to use it. I could store the stuff. I could sell it. I've been buying and selling stuff. If you want, I could help you out. He goes, no way, that'd be great. So like what feels like the next day, I'm pretty sure it was the next day, maybe it was the next week. All of a sudden I've got box trucks of gym equipment coming to our facility in Princeton. I'm like, this is awesome. And the only downside was it was cardio equipment. When I was buying and selling equipment for myself, I would not do cardio equipment because cardio equipment has issues. It breaks. It makes noise. If you are using a leg extension or a leg press, it's pretty straightforward. It has one function and one moving part, and it's not difficult. When you get on a treadmill and it inclines and it declines and this moves and that moves and there's all these different noises coming, it makes me a little bit more nervous. So this guy's sending me these box trucks worth of equipment, and it's all cardio for the most part. Whatever. I told the guy, I'm like, I don't know how to fix this stuff. I don't know what to do with it. We're just going to sell it as is. And if anybody gets pissed off, I'm telling them to come back to you because this is not my thing. And he's like, okay, yeah, no problem, no problem. So I was buying and selling, I guess I was selling cardio equipment now. And the deal was I would sell it for X amount of dollars. He would tell me kind of the minimum he needed to make on it. So I'd sell it for a couple $100 more. And we were doing this for weeks on end. And all of a sudden, I was accumulating more cash and I was saving up more money, and it was great. Well, I won't go too crazy in depth on this story, but there's definitely a whole nother hour podcast, a whole nother hour episode to have about this Craigslist guy, as we did work with him for quite a while. But for this episode, we'll kind of keep it short and brief. He was giving us equipment. I was selling it. We then took the next step in our relationship to, hey, do you guys want to learn how to fix this stuff? And we're like, yeah. So we start fixing the equipment. This is where Kyle, my best friend growing up throughout high school, comes into play. Kyle Gradowskis. He will be making an episode appearance in the future as well. But he comes into play. He was going to school in Whitewater at the time. Wasn't really liking it. He drops out of school, says, I want to work with you. Let's do something. He comes back. He becomes this service guy for us. Again, Kyle isn't naturally a handy guy. I wasn't naturally a handy guy. We didn't grow up around tools as far as we weren't turning wrenches all the time like some other guys. So now we're learning how to fix gym equipment from, what we could call in quotations our mentor, somebody who's been doing it for several years. And Kyle no longer goes to school, and Kyle's just getting thrown out into the world. He's going to like all of these Anytime Fitnesses, YMCAs, customers' homes, whatever it was. Kyle was going there, attempting to fix equipment, learning how to fix equipment on the spot. And this is kind of what changed our company at the time. Priority Athlete transitioned to Priority Fitness. Priority Athlete went to Priority Fitness before we started doing the service. Sorry, I'll back up for a sec. Priority Athlete changed to Priority Fitness because we didn't want our gym in Princeton to be known just for athletes. So we went to Priority Fitness. Mind you, I don't really have an LLC or anything like that. It's just that's the new name on the door. Kyle starts doing the servicing of gym equipment. Insurance company, our mentor tells us, hey, you should probably get an LLC and some insurance. So that's what we do. Insurance company says, we do not want to insure your little PT studio and your fitness equipment repair service install company because that's too broad, right? That we can't insure you like that. I said, okay, let's just use Priority Fitness as the service company, and, we'll worry about the gym later. I say, okay. So in the meantime, the gym name still says Priority Fitness. It's not insured. We've got 30 gym members. It doesn't really matter. I'm still opening the Princeton studio when everybody wants to, and then Priority Fitness is officially the service and install company. So Kyle's fixing stuff. He's learning how to fix stuff. We'll bring him on to talk more about that. We then transition to I'll back up again. We're selling all of this equipment, and I've got this other guy that started working with us named Drake. And I met Drake through my friend Damon Goki growing up. He goes, hey, I got this buddy in college named Drake. You should really meet him, and I think he would love to do some of your deliveries, because when I was buying and selling equipment, I would also be delivering it on the weekends or whenever I had time. I'd grab the trailer, I'd go to Chicago, I would deliver a couple pieces, I would pick up some more. Like, that's how I was making extra cash, was doing deliveries. So Drake wanted to start doing deliveries on the weekends for some cash. I said, great. I would charge $200 to deliver this piece. I'd give Drake $150. I'd make some money. He'd make some money. We're all happy. We're all good. So I've got Drake as like not a real employee, but a part-time guy doing deliveries. We've got Kyle doing service. And, now we've started setting up a bank account. We've got some insurance. Like, we're kind of making some money, but it was very messy. We'll get into the details of how all that worked. Kyle was basically volunteering / making like $7 or $8 an hour, or like enough money to live each week. So Kyle would be like, hey, I need $200 this week. We'd be like, great, here you go. And that's how messy it was in the early days. So that is where we're at with Priority Fitness at the time. I'll get into kind of the Grizzly Fitness story now. Grizzly Fitness is the name of our 6 gym locations today. So, Grizzly Fitness, I'll give you guys the background on the name, why we chose Grizzly Fitness for our gym name. Priority Fitness at the time was, we had a couple employees. We were doing deliveries and installs and service. We had Damon, the guy who I just mentioned, and Drake were both employees of ours. And we needed, I was selling all this equipment, and so I started this LLC called Grizzly Fitness. I never used the LLC, but I had it in my back pocket because when I was selling all this gym equipment, I was nervous that I would sell a treadmill. I'd be the salesman. I'd sell a treadmill to a customer, and they would expect somebody like me showing up to do their install. And so I wanted to split up our delivery team from our delivery LLC from our service and sales LLC or business. And Damon and Drake, if anybody listening knows who they are rather large men. Drake was like a full-time farmer dude, the type of guy who would grab a hay bale and he could throw it probably like 100 yards and you'd be like, you probably wouldn't say anything stupid to him because he'd probably pick you up and throw you just as far. So Drake is like 6'6" and like, 280 and Damon's like 6'2", 6'3", and also a big boy. So we've got our Grizzlies of the company doing the install of the treadmill or elliptical to your home. And I figured that was the perfect name, Grizzly Fitness. Like, you know who you're getting on the install, our partner company, Grizzly Fitness, and you've got our Priority Fitness, who is our service and sales team. So, never ended up using the name Grizzly Fitness LLC. The insurance company, I don't know what timeline we're here, but I'm just giving you the background on Grizzly Fitness and why we named it this. The insurance company needed... we needed to get insurance on our gym at the time. So the insurance company goes, hey, what's your LLC for the gym? And I said, oh, Grizzly Fitness. We'll use it. I've already been paying for it. We got it. So there was really no thought behind Grizzly Fitness being a gym. It's just kind of transpired to be that way, and it's worked out, and now we love the name, and, now we've got a podcast called The Grizzly Life, right? So it's great. So that's a brief history on Grizzly Fitness and why our gyms are named that. I'm going to back up again. I'm sorry, but Priority Fitness... Kyle's doing service for us. He's doing some anytime fitness work, fixing stuff that he's trying to fix stuff, learning how to fix stuff, all that kind of stuff. I believe it is...
We're like late 2017, early 2018, because Kyle, from what he's told me story-wise, he'd be in a second-year school, but kind of basically transitioning out at this point.
Yeah, and Kyle too, I should mention, when we were kind of opening the Princeton studio, Kyle would help and go open the gym or close the gym or help mop the gym, even though we weren't making any money at the gym in Princeton. Kyle also kind of played a role in that as well. What was the date I gave you, Chase, on the install, the first large install?
The first ever install that isn't related to just like obviously buying and selling. We're in like June here of 2018 where we have our first actual install.
So I'll tell you guys a brief story on kind of where we were going. So June of 2018, I no longer work at Green Lake Fitness. I had to step away from there because we were doing we had too much stuff going on between the service and sales of fitness equipment and learning that. So I told Green Lake Fitness, I said, hey, I'll still help you guys, but I need to step away and focus on this new thing. There's just a lot more going on, more moving parts, but I'd love to still help you guys out if you need. They politely told me 2 weeks later, you're fired, basically, which didn't make a whole lot of sense because I offered to basically help out if needed. Otherwise, I'm out of here. And anyways, weird situation. We won't go into that. But so now our service and sales is kind of picking up. It's me and Kyle. And then I've got like buddies who like work out with me who don't really have jobs or they're going to go to college next year or whatever. So September of 2018, you said it was? Or
June of 2018.
June of 2018. Okay, so yes, it is the summer. I've got buddies and stuff who are not in college yet because it's the summertime. So me and Kyle are basically like the full-time guys for Priority Fitness, and also Drake at the time. Drake was basically a delivery guy learning how to fix some stuff, but he was mainly a delivery guy, just helping us out when we needed. And then I've got my buddy Caleb, which he was basically just training with me. He was one of my workout partners at the time, and he was getting ready to go to, long story short, eventually the military is kind of where he ended up. So we we are doing installs for our mentor, where his business, he was basically running a business that was kind of going out down the drain for personal stuff. We'll have a whole other episode on that. But so we're now taking over some more of his business, which requires installs. Mind you, we're all 19, have no idea how to move a piece of gym equipment the right way, have no idea how to take it apart, really don't have the right amount of tools or the proper tools to do this stuff. So June of 2018, he goes, hey, we've got an install for you in Michigan. We need you to head out there. I'm like, okay, like, what is the stuff? And he sends me this list of stuff. I'm like, all right, yeah, it shouldn't be too bad. We didn't know what kind of install we were walking into. Again, we've never done this. We've just kind of moved equipment around for us in our little studio and the stuff I've bought and thrown in my trailer. But there's kind of an art to moving gym equipment. Once you've done it long enough, you understand how to tip the piece of equipment, you know how to pick it up, you've got the right carts, the right tools, the right dollies, whatever. Like, we're experts at it now, but not when we were 19. So we go to this trip in Michigan. There's me, Kyle, Drake, Damon, and Caleb, all of which we kind of been moving it, but not really equipment-wise. So we get there, and it's this high-end apartment building for basically a Division I school, like University of Michigan or whatever the other one is out there. I can't remember.
Michigan State out that way, but I don't know if that's even close to one another.
Yeah, I can't. I'll verify again when we kind of get back into this, and maybe I bring on some of these guests to talk about this story a little bit more. But we did a very high-end apartment complex where these high-end students would pay high-end amounts of rent a month to live off campus, but basically on campus, all this stuff. And so we get there, and it's this beautiful, beautiful apartment building. And there's two-way traffic going both ways, right downtown, the smack of the city. So there's nowhere to really park, nowhere to really navigate. We don't really own any moving carts besides like these crappy plastic things that like break very easy, so we had to be very careful. This install was all single doors, no double doors, no overhead doors. It was all single doors, all beautiful. Like, everything was done up in this apartment building. Like, we should have been there before everything was fine-tuned and finished, but like, you know, tile floors and like beautiful wood trim and like massive doors, but that weren't wide. They were just like really, you know, like those 10 or 12 foot doors that are like way too, they don't really serve a purpose besides looking good, you know, that kind of stuff at this apartment complex. I'd have to double check. We might have even had a second floor install on this one. We might have had to take a little elevator up to the second floor because they like to do that stuff at these apartment complexes. So we've got 5 dudes. It's like 90 degrees out in the middle of summer in Michigan. And we're doing this install kind of, mind you, we have one tool bag we're using. Drake has some tools. And this install was for Matrix Fitness equipment. It was Matrix was the brand. We get some of the cardio stuff in, and we get to the strength circuit, and we realize we don't even have the right Allen wrench to take the stuff apart. Mind you, we don't have an impact or like a drill gun, right? Like, we don't have an impact. So now we only can hand crank all of these bolts loose and hand crank them back. Like, that was the only way we could operate. And we've got like a 10-piece gym circuit, and we don't have the right size Allen wrench, and nothing fits in this single door. Luckily, we drive down to this little, like literally this little shack of like a hardware store, and he goes, oh yeah, I got the right size here. And we get that, and we needed like a 6 mil or an 8 millimeter or 10 millimeter Allen wrench, and I think we needed like an 8 mil or a 10 mil Allen wrench, and our set only went up to like 6 or whatever. So anyways, we get that, come back, we're hand loosening everything, all of the equipment sitting outside on the curb waiting to get in the building. I won't go, again, too crazy in depth in the story because it should probably be best to have the guests here that were on site. But we'll fast forward. The site was beautiful. It was a very difficult install. Kyle ends up getting like food poisoning from like Domino's. So now he's like not okay, not functioning. So now we're down to 4 dudes. Damon is like dying of like heat exhaustion. So now it's like me, Drake, and Caleb. And Caleb at the time like didn't ever really help us move gym equipment, but I needed a guy, so Caleb came with us. And so he wasn't, and Caleb, maybe you'll listen to this. It's not like Caleb was a major player really helping us on this install. He was just supposed to be there to like hold this or help with that. So now it's basically like Drake and I trying to like install a full gym of stuff. And the client we're doing this install for, this is our first job we've done for her. This is like basically our first install. And this lady when we're 19 years old, we're thinking, wow, this lady she's never going to hire us again. Like, we suck. This is horrible. Everything we've scratched probably like 3 or 4 different spots in the building. We've broken a couple parts on some of the equipment. We've scratched another like 10 pieces of equipment. We're just like, at this point, we're trying to hide the issues that we know of because that's how bad we were doing. So I'll fast forward a little bit more. Now it's like 10 o'clock at night. We're still doing this install. It starts downpouring outside. We still have like 6 pieces of equipment outside. And we cannot, we asked the lady, we said, do you mind if we kind of just leave the stuff under this overhang out there? They're like, there's no way, you can't leave this stuff out here. Like, it could get stolen, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like downpouring. This is our first install, brand new equipment, $3,000, $4,000 pieces of strength equipment are just getting rained on. And we're like, oh, okay. So we end up getting the stuff inside. We leave it in the lobby. We have to come back the next morning. I think we probably work till like midnight or 1 a.m. We come back the next day, work another half day, get everything in. We're amazed at ourselves that we could even get the stuff in, but we did it on one set of tools. 2 or 3 guys kind of on the install because the other 2 or 3 guys were sick and heat exhaustion and all this stuff. So long story short, that was our first experience of an install. It was very bad. We've gotten better since, and it's only been up since there, but we did not lose that contact of the install. We still did 2 more installs for later that year, and they both got progressively better. We had the right amount of tools and all that kind of stuff, but that was a brief, that was our first install for Priority Fitness, and it was a good thing we had insurance because if they wanted, they probably could have came back at us for a lot of issues in that building and the equipment. Luckily, they did not, but so that's a brief on that. So we've covered a little bit of ground. We now know why Grizzly Fitness is called Grizzly Fitness. We now know why Priority Fitness, or we know how Priority Fitness kind of started, kind of how it starts evolving, who some of our first employees were, and that kind of stuff. I would also like to touch base on one more thing before we potentially hop off here. Another quick story, which we'll do another episode on this later. One of my first clients ever at our personal training studio walked into my studio by accident. I happened to be there, and this lady walks in, and she goes, "Hey, I'm here for the bodybuilding Princeton." And I'm like, I'm not sure what you're talking about. She goes, "Well, I was in the pig, and I saw this flyer, and I want to work out here. Like, I'm looking to like learn about fitness, right?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't think you're at the right location, but I think you're at the right location because I can help you," type thing. And I said, "You want a tour of my studio?" And I've got like 3 squat racks, some dumbbells, and like a leg extension, right? Like, I don't have to give her a tour. She can just look in the window and see everything she needs to see. So she goes, "Yeah." And I tell her a little bit about me and my background and how I'm powerlifting background and not a CrossFit guy, but functional fitness type stuff. And she goes, "Yeah, I'll come here. Like, I was looking for the bodybuilding Princeton, but I don't need to go there. Like, this seems great. How much will you charge me for some personal training?" And I was like, "Well, it's $99 for 3 sessions. And that's kind of an introductory, no contract. We'll just try it out." And so she does it and turns into be a good client. And I kind of keep coaching her on a monthly basis. And she's one of my first personal training clients in Princeton. Well, she ended up being a lady by the name Ellie Apland. She is basically our manager at Grizzly Fitness today. I have to timeline it. She might have been our first official employee on payroll because she actually, I could be wrong. It may have been Kyle or Drake that was also our first employee, but Ellie is just a funny story. She is our first kind of outsider in this company. She was my first client by accident, and she's still with us today at Grizzly Fitness. She does our property management with all of our real estate. She makes some of our t-shirts. She helps manage our gym staff. She makes the gyms look good. She likes having plants in all of our gyms, so when she listens to this, she'll laugh. But we've got plenty of plants in all of our fitness centers as well, thanks to Ellie. But yeah, funny story. We'll have her on. We'll kind of talk deeper in that. So we are now through 2018, kind of kept evolving. Actually, so 2018, funny enough, I think it was at the end of 2018 or early 2019. We've now got Priority Fitness going. We're doing installs. We've got a couple employees. We don't really know what we're doing, but we're trying to. We've got our service division, and we've got our one fitness center in Princeton, and I no longer work at Green Lake Fitness. Well, fast forward, I don't know, it must have been like 6 months after I quit working at Green Lake. Our mentor gets an email saying, hey, it's Green Lake Fitness. We need a general maintenance. So the mentor says, hey, man, the gym you used to work at needs a general maintenance. So I reached out to the gym I used to work at, said, hey, you guys knew I quit because I had to do this thing, so you could have just reached out to me, but we can do your general maintenance. Like, that's no problem. So we go and do the general maintenance. Me and Kyle or something like that goes out there. We notice the gym's not doing as well. It's kind of dirty, disorganized, whatever. I have a conversation with I don't know what the position would be, like the guy in charge basically at the Green Lake Fitness Center. The Green Lake Fitness Center was in a community center style building, so it wasn't just a fitness center. It was just kind of like a one-off business in this building. And so the gym was ran by the community center itself. So I had a conversation after we did the general maintenance, and I was like, would you guys be interested in us like coming back and managing Green Lake Fitness at all? And they go, that's not a bad idea. Let's have a meeting about it. So again, without going too crazy into detail on how this worked, I had a meeting with, like, let's call it the CEO or the operations of the community center, kind of gave my pitch and said how I'd like to like operate it without purchasing it, and then, whatever. And so they actually gave me this paperwork that basically set us up as an operator. So our second official location now is Green Lake Fitness. We signed an operator's agreement. I believe we were operating for an 80-20 split. So I was in charge of payroll and management of the fitness center. Anything I wanted to add was on me, and I owned it. They didn't own it. And then their 20% split was basically a rent to them. So they were happy. The better we did, the better they did. And the better our relationship, just the better off we were. And so now our second official gym, because we ended up changing, the LLC that managed it was Grizzly Fitness, I believe. I'd have to double check. It was all messy in the beginning. But now we've got our second official location. I'm no longer a trainer there. And that is when Ellie stepped in and was our first employee. She helped manage that facility, and you'll have to hear the story from her. I think she was hired to like smile and wave and not really do anything besides like read her book and make sure the bathrooms were clean type thing. And it's definitely not what she signed up for in the long run, but that's what we hired her for back then. So that got us through Green Lake Fitness. We are now managing that facility. We've got Priority Fitness operating, and we've got our Princeton studio doing okay. Mind you, we're still not 24/7 at our Princeton facility yet. That is more of a 2020 conversation to be had. But I feel like we've already been kind of talking your ear off with a lot of stuff and a lot of stories here, so I think we're probably going to be hopping off here. I would like to mention, I love the feedback from everybody on episode 1. I do want more feedback from everybody. I am trying not to say because I know that is a thing of speech and something that I have never practiced. So if somebody wants to count how many times I said this episode and send me a message, that would be great, because I'm sure it was still a lot. But my personal information, if you want to reach out to me, my Snapchat is colton.burt, COLTON.BURT. My Instagram is coltonburt19, and my Facebook, you can look me up, Colton Burt, or I don't know if you have to use the username on Facebook. It is colton.burt19. Otherwise, we've got our email, marketing@fitnessgrizzly.com. So feel free to reach out to us there if you have any questions, concerns, comments. And don't forget to check out our website at www.thegrizzlylife.com. Please tune in to episode 2. Please tune into the future episodes. Please give us feedback here on episode 2. And stay tuned for the rest of our story and our history. We will have guests on here in the near future as well, so stay tuned for that. We appreciate you listening. Chase, if you've got any socials you want everybody to listen to you at.
Yeah, so pretty much across everything, it's Chase Mastrocola, CHASE, and then MASTRICOLA. That's across Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, the whole lot there. And if you are looking to show us your support, leave comments for us, like Colton mentioned, you can reach out to us at our more officials, whether that be our marketing email or the website itself. But feel free, if you're on Spotify, leave us a rating there. Otherwise, if you're on YouTube, feel free, use the comment section, drop a like there as well. Really shows your support and lets us know how we're performing, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. So that's all I got for you there.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I do ask that if you can share this podcast, this episode, all of the future episodes with friends, family, anybody who you think would enjoy hearing the story. It's, not, some people might naturally find it inspiring or just cool to listen to, small town story and that kind of stuff. So please, please, please share, do all of that kind of stuff. We will be on Apple. We released on Spotify and YouTube last week for episode 1. We will be getting that one released to Apple, and episode 2 will be live on all of those as well. So please share, comment, all of that kind of stuff. Well, that's all I've got for you. So please do that if you can. Check out our website, do all of that stuff. Let us know what you think. We appreciate your time, and we will see you next episode.